I want to break this down for a minute because this was just why I wrote this book, why I wrote Worthy was because just like what you just shared, I was crushing it in business and doing all these things. And honestly, just to be really real, most of my entire life, I believe the lie that if I could achieve enough, then I would finally feel enough. And part of why I wrote Worthy is like, it's not all these things you need to learn to become worthy. It's every single person innately is worthy, but we are taught not to believe it. And this book is about, how to unlearn the lies that lead to self-doubt and then ignite those truths that wake up worthiness.
Welcome to the Excellence Project. My name is Eric Worre, and in today's episode, I have a very dear friend and wildly successful entrepreneur, Jamie Kern Lima. She's the author of the brand new book, Worthy: How to Believe You're Enough and Transform Your Life. It's a very, very important book. She's the founder of IT Cosmetics, a company she started in her living room and grew to the largest luxury makeup brand in the country. She sold the company to L'Oreal in a $1 billion deal, became the first female CEO of a brand in its 100+ year history. She's an amazing entrepreneur, speaker, friend. And in this conversation, we talk about what might be the most important topic in the world today. And that's a way for people to recognize that they're worthy, for them to deprogram all of the limiting beliefs that they've had in their life, and to be able to raise their lid, because you can't succeed more than your self-worth will allow you to succeed. It's very, very interesting and very valuable for those in network marketing, for those in entrepreneurship. I think you're going to really, really enjoy it. So with no further ado, let's jump right into my conversation with my friend, Jamie Kern Lima. Jamie Kern Lima, how are you?
So great, fired up, ready to have an incredible episode and conversation with you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my great pleasure. Congratulations on Worthy. How many books have you put out now?
This is my second. So my first book, Believe It, was really my story of learning to believe in myself. Worthy is the playbook. It's the playbook on how do you believe in you. So it's packed with 20 tools to build unshakable self-worth. And it's the greatest work of my life. So donating all the proceeds, and I'm just fired up.
You're donating all the proceeds?
Yeah, 100% of them. Yeah, this is just, Eric, I just think about every person out there like who has some self-doubt to destroy and a destiny to fulfill. This book is for them. So I'm really excited. Yeah.
Well, can you just take 5 minutes, and for anybody who doesn't know who you are and what you've done, kind of your story, can you give a 5-minute version of the story, and then we can walk into how you made it all happen from what you lay out, the whole playbook in Worthy?
Yeah. Well, I think, for anyone listening who has big goals, big dreams, like things they want to build, maybe like generational cycles they want to end or want to break, and they're sort of like struggling to believe that that's possible, but they're on their journey to believing. That is really my story. When you Google my name, the press always says Denny's waitress builds $1 billion business. Denny's waitress builds $1 billion company, becomes first female CEO of a brand in L'Oreal's 100+ year history. And those things are true. I started a business in my living room with a whole big God-sized vision and dream for it. And then entered a whole lot of seasons of rejections and self-doubt and naysayers and people that did not believe in me. And it was a journey. Like my real story that maybe a lot of people can relate to. My real story is a girl who did not know how to believe in herself and has been on a journey and a mission of learning how to and how to believe I'm worthy of my goals and dreams in my life. And so, I started IT Cosmetics in my living room. I thought, Eric, my whole life growing up as a little girl, I thought I would watch Oprah all alone in my living room, and watch her share other people's stories with the world. And I just grew up thinking, oh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share other people's stories with the world. And I did all these jobs to try to get into journalism and, bagged groceries at the grocery store, sold popcorn at the swap meet, waitress at Denny's, all different things. And eventually was in my dream job and have a hereditary skin condition called rosacea, and almost got fired because of it, entered a huge season of self-doubt because of it. And what I know now and believe now is that so often our setbacks in life are actually our setups for what we're called to do. We just don't know it at the time when we're going through it. And I was, in what I thought was my dream job, and my bright red rosacea was breaking through my makeup live on the air. And I would be anchoring the news and I would hear my earpiece from the producer, there's something on your face. There's something on your face. You need to wipe it off. And I'd be live to millions of people. And I walked through this whole season of thinking at any moment I'm going to get fired because I could not find a product that would work for me, that would cover. And that led to me eventually having the idea to create my own. And, kind of getting that gut feeling or that knowing like, well, maybe I should take this chance and I should launch this business and go for it. I had that idea, but for the longest time, even though my knowing told me that, my self-doubt talked me out of it really fast with thoughts like, oh, but you got no money, no connections, you're unqualified, no one in the beauty industry. And I sat in that place for a long time until I made the decision to trust that knowing, that intuition, and go for it. And then what I did not know, and maybe someone listening to you and me right now can relate to this, I thought, oh, I'm going to launch this. It's going to be huge. People are just going to get it right away. Like it's just going to be such a success. And I did not know that from the moment I launched that business in my living room, it would be over 3 years before I could even pay myself one penny. And it would be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of no's and rejection and people saying they don't believe in my idea. And basically they don't think I can make them any money. So I'm not welcome in their stores. And it was really a journey of not letting someone else's no turn into doubt in my own head, not believing that all the rejections around me are somehow an indication of my lack of potential or ability to succeed. And that was really, really the journey. And eventually, after learning how to change my relationship with rejection, how to embrace rejection, how to reframe it, which I'm super happy to go into as well, how to do all of these things. A lot of the tools that I wrote about in the book Worthy are how I learned to believe I was worthy of building a business. Because here's the deal. We can have big dreams and goals, but our self-worth is our ceiling, right? Like in life, in our businesses, in our relationships, in our friendships, in our goals and dreams, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. Because if deep down inside, we don't believe we're worthy of the thing, we will either sabotage it, we will hit a ceiling, we will get stuck, or the very best cases we'll get it and still feel empty, like something's missing, like it's not enough, because underneath it all, we don't feel we're enough. And so I really wrote Worthy to break down like these 20 plus tools on how I learned to believe I was worthy of building $1 billion business and of turning all these rejections around. Because in the end, I built to over 1,000 employees. And eventually, after years of hearing no, got a yes from QVC, risked everything to trust my gut at the time and do it authentically. And then eventually we built the biggest beauty brand in QVC's history. And every single no, all the no's across years and years and years and years and years of no's, eventually I was able to turn every one of those into a yes, in part by not taking them personal. And in other part by just completely changing my relationship with the meaning I assign to rejection or failure in my life. And then eventually in 2016, I sold the business for $1.2 billion cash to L'Oreal. And they made me the first woman to hold a CEO title at their brand in a 107-year history. And I gave him my word I would stay for 3 years. And I just think when people believe in you, you got to prove them right. And so we doubled the size of the business in the first 2 years post acquisition, which is wild. And then not too long ago, stepped away, and now I kind of am just on this mission to use every single thing I have gone through to help other people make it through those things, and hopefully take shortcuts, and hopefully learn to believe their dreams are possible. And hopefully, most importantly, I should say, learn to believe they're worthy of them. Because again, I'll just say it again, like, we do not soar to the level of our goals and dreams. We will always stay stuck at the level of our self-worth. And our self-worth is very different than our self-confidence. And a lot of people don't know that. And me understanding that difference has been massive in how I've been able to actually, get some of the things that I have hoped and prayed for a long time. So that is my story in the nutshell. And now I'm just here talking to you, and so excited to pour into each and every person listening right now. I believe, Eric, if someone is listening to you and me right now, it is not an accident. And there's something that we're going to talk about that is for them today. And that's why I'm fired up. So
I love it. I love it. So this was It Cosmetics. You built that from the ground up, one no at a time, one obstacle at a time, overcoming all these different barriers, doing things that people had never done. You didn't let the fact that nobody done it before get in the way of you doing it. A lot of people do that.
Yes.
And you talk about self-worth, and I just, everything that when I looked at the book, the title Worthy is so, just by itself, is so on point. I think today in our world, well, I'll tell you my personal experience with self-worth is I've struggled with my whole life, struggle with my own, am I capable? Am I deserving? Am I worthy of what's going on? And I thought that I'd overcome it. I really did. Because I was an achiever. I was an earner. I got the titles and I got the accolades and I got all that stuff, but I didn't know why I never had any money in my pocket, because I thought my form of sabotage was not having anything to show for all the rewards and accolades and everything else. I'd buying everybody dinner and taking care of everybody's needs and doing all that stuff so I would feel worthy and validated, or getting into making bad investments or bad partnerships, bad relationships that would find a way for the money to go away from me. And it took me, probably till maybe 15 years ago that I acknowledged it, I faced it, and I said, oh, okay, this is my ceiling and I've got to figure this out. I've got to get beyond this, because I had reputation and brand and accolades and all this stuff, but there was a leak. There was a leak in the bucket. And it would take the form of inconsistency. I would use that for a form of self-sabotage, financial, lots of forms of self-sabotage that would kick in there. And it took a bit for me to reframe my narrative, how I think about myself. And it's still a work in progress. I'm sure it is for you too. You're not completely done, because there's levels. As soon as you get to one thing, you're like, nope, I'm worthy of more than this. I actually am.
Yes.
You have the same?
I sure do. I sure do. And I just want to honor you sharing that. I think that's a really, really big thing, because a lot of people, they do not share this stuff.
No.
And they feel
this kind of weakness is punished generally in the marketplace. Even though we do have to deal with it, you don't want to bring it up in the boardroom.
Right. And, here's the thing is, when you look at the data, over 80% of women and over 73% of men right now feel that they are not enough and struggle with self-worth. It is almost everyone. And I would argue that the people who achieve the most, who are crushing it the most in business and leadership and success, they're often actually more likely, when you look at the data, more likely to have underlying issues of self-worth that they're trying to solve through achievement. And here's the thing, in our lives, growth, contribution, and building self-confidence, those three things are so important, but they're different than self-worth. And all four are so important. And just to break this down, because this was a big thing, and what you just shared is a huge revelation, and someone's going to hear what you just shared and be like, that is my experience. That is exactly what I'm going through. And people do not share this stuff. And what we see is this whole world in 2024 of social media and this and that. And we see everyone's highlight reel, and it looks like we're alone in having these feelings. And we're not. And what I have learned is the most successful people in the world, I don't know that I've met a single one that does not have this experience and these feelings. And so I think that's really important because for the person listening, watching you and I right now, just knowing it's not you is big. That's the first thing. But the second thing is that, I want to break this down for a minute, because this was just why I wrote this book, why I wrote Worthy, was because just like what you just shared, I was crushing it in business and doing all these things. And honestly, just to be really real, most of my entire life, I believed the lie that if I could achieve enough, then I would finally feel enough. And part of why I wrote Worthy is like, it's not all these things you need to learn to become worthy. It's every single person innately is worthy, but we are taught not to believe it. And this book is about, how to unlearn the lies that lead to self-doubt and then ignite those truths that wake up worthiness. And one of the lies is, I have got to achieve enough to be enough. And let me just take a step back and say, right now, I have higher self-worth than I have ever had in my life. And I'm actually more ambitious than I've ever been in my life. The two are not, it's not one without the other. But I want to break down one thing that's just really important, because for the longest time, what I did not realize in all of the ambition I had in building my business and the offering I wanted to put out in the world, I just thought I need more self-confidence. And I did not realize what I actually need is more self-worth. And they are so different.
Can you break down the difference between self-confidence and self-worth? I'd love to know that, because it's an interesting distinction. This feeling of confidence, this feeling of being unstoppable, and feeling worthy.
Yes.
And if you can break that down, and then if it's okay, I'd like to go through the process, at least on an overview level, the process of how a person is able to change their view of themselves and the worthiness that they have. How do they reprogram themselves to be able to do that? But what's the difference between self-confidence and self-worth?
Yeah. And this is big. If someone just told me, oh, let me tell you the difference between self-confidence and self-worth, I'd be like, I don't really care. I said, they're probably the same thing. I thought that my whole life. What's the big deal? Until I realized, holy, you know what? When you know the difference, it fundamentally changes your business, your goals, your dreams. Everything. This is big. So because we are constantly trying to solve our enoughness by things that build self-confidence. And it is why we arrive at a new level after a new level after a new level, still unfulfilled, still feeling like we're not enough inside, still feeling like something's missing. And it's because of this distinction that we think we need more self-confidence, but what we really need is more self-worth, because our self-worth is our ceiling. So to break it down, self-confidence, while it is so important to pursue building our entire lives, it's so important. It is, it's an internal trait, but our self-confidence is largely based on the external. Our self-confidence is based on how we assess our skills and abilities. It's our willingness to try and go for it. It's how much of the world's definition of success we believe we have. It's how we feel we're stacking up and comparing and measuring to others. And our self-confidence fluctuates. It's fragile. They say the boxer who wins the fight is automatically 30% more confident, right? Our confidence it's fragile. It fluctuates. It rises. It falls. Our self-worth, on the other hand, is the deep belief and knowing that innately you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. not as your past mistakes or failures, not as your past regrettable incidents or the things you wish you never did, not as anything in the past, and also not as your successes and your wins and all that, but exactly as you are. I believe every one of us, as God made us, exactly as we are worthy. We are worthy. We are enough exactly as we are. Now, we can make choices. We can make choices that we regret, that are painful in our past, and we can make choices to change how we are going to show up in this world, right? When we fall flat on our face or we win something, either way, that shatters and hurts our confidence. But it does not change that we are innately made worthy. We are innately born worthy. Every single person is born fully worthy, exactly as you are. Now, you can make choices that lower your self-worth. You can make choices that lower your ceiling. And then what happens is we start to believe that is what we are worthy of. And then that is what comes out in our life, right? So you can.
Let me ask this. This. When you say worthy of what?
Enough and worthy exactly as you are. Like enough maybe is a great way to put it.
No,
exactly
here's what I'm saying worthy of what? Worthy of
love and belonging.
Wealth, love, belonging.
Yeah, worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. Because the reason people chase wealth after your basic human needs are met, when you really break down why a lot of people chase wealth is because they hope it brings them to arrive at the feeling of love and belonging and what they perceive that to look like, right? There's people chasing fame every single day because they want that feeling of validation or what they believe eventually will help them feel enough, will help them get that feeling of love and belonging. Underneath all of that stuff, when you peel all of it back, people are hoping to get that exact same thing. That is really what drives human behavior, is at the end of the day, we want to feel loved.
If you have an actor, they're on top of the world, they're A-list and they're being admired and they're in all the top movies. And they're confident, obviously, because of the feedback loop that they're getting. But then they're not quite as much in demand. Then they're not getting the calls. Then they're not, some of them, their worth, they attach their worth to how popular they might be versus who they are as a person. Yes?
Yes.
So when you got the big payday.
And let me just say this.
Yeah, please.
Let me break this down because this will explain it to you about your question about the actor or someone selling their business for a bunch of money or someone hitting a threshold in their business.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about your big sale. And what that did. What was that like? Oh my gosh.
That boosted
in the
my
month after that. I'm curious.
Yeah, that boosted my self-confidence, but it cannot touch your self-worth. They're different. So let me explain this for a second. And after a big sale of selling my company for $1 billion, I was still sabotaging stuff in my life that I didn't, because I did not believe I was worthy, because self-worth is different than self-confidence. So for Eric, for you, for anybody listening to us right now, if you've ever had this big goal or dream, right? And because here's the thing about self-confidence, I want to break this down because it's a huge distinction and what makes self-worth so important and why self-worth is your ceiling. We believe from the time we are raised, we see commercials out there, advertisements, etc., that if we achieve those things, right, that we'll finally feel enough. And so for a lot of us, we have these big goals and dreams. And maybe it's like, oh, I want to become a CEO one day, or I want to have my business hit a certain level, or I want to get the dream car, or I want to have children and get married, or I want to have six-pack abs. We have these big goals and dreams. And we think if I finally get that thing, then I'm going to be made in the shade. Then I'm going to all my problems will be solved. I'll be fulfilled. I'll have hit that level. I'll finally feel enough. I'll finally feel happy. And for most of us, maybe we've worked decades to get one of those goals, or years, right? Or months, but we've worked really, really hard. And for those of us who have finally hit and achieved one of those goals, whether it's getting married, whether it's the job title, the level in our business, some type of fame on social media, whatever it is, what happens? We get it. and we're happy. Usually we're happy for a little bit. And before we know it, we're back to feeling like something is missing, like it's not enough, like we're not enough. And it's because the pursuit of all those things builds self-confidence, which is really important. When we're pursuing those things, we're often growing. A lot of times we're contributing to something bigger than ourselves. All those things are important and build self-confidence. But underneath it all, none of those things that we achieve build self-worth, which is different. And the way I can describe it is almost like your self-confidence is the house you're building with all the rooms and the artwork and the this and that. Your self-worth is the foundation beneath that house. And your house will only ever be as secure as the foundation it's on top of. And the way that this shows up, to answer your question about, selling your business, or, we see people that win the lotto and then they lose it all, or they go to the moon, they land on the moon, or they win the Olympic gold medal, or they're hugely famous. And everyone sits back and going, why did they ruin their entire lives? Why are they not happy? Underneath it all, those things we accomplish, they're very important in terms of like the ultimate fulfillment equation in life. It is important to be building confidence, to be growing, to be contributing. That is so, so, so important. But all those things are multiplied by your level of self-worth to get your level of fulfillment. And if your self-worth is zero, anything times zero is zero. Your self-worth, if you struggle with this, and I'm going to break down the 3 main ways it can show up. And then I'll share how it showed up for me, even after I had hit such a great threshold in business success, right? So 3 of the main ways struggles with self-worth can show up for anybody listening. If we have low self-worth, that will often look like we stay stuck. We're stuck and we don't know why. And maybe it's that you want to find a life partner, but you're like not getting on the dating app, or you're not going and socializing, or maybe you feel like you have a book inside of you to write, but you're not writing it and you don't know why. And you're scrolling Instagram for 8 hours a day. We will stay stuck and we'll tell ourselves, I just need to build more skill set, or I just need to put in more reps. And those things might be true. But often the reason we stay stuck is because underneath it all, deep down inside, we actually don't believe we're worthy of the thing. And remember, I talk about this in the book Worthy a lot, about how we don't rise to what we believe is possible. We will always fall to what we believe we're worthy of. And then when it comes to low to medium self-worth, what that often looks like is what you described earlier. It's what I've actually experienced a lot of, which is we'll go for the thing. Like we'll put ourselves out there, we'll go for the thing, and we'll either hit a ceiling. We'll want our business to be 6 figures or 7 figures. We'll hit a ceiling at 4 figures. We don't know why. Or we'll write the book. We'll actually write the book, but then we won't send it out. We'll paint, we'll put our art and our expression out there, but then we don't share it. Or we'll meet a potential partner or friend, or, sometimes as an adult, we want to make new friends, right? Or even looking for love, we'll meet a potential partner. They'll be amazing. And for some reason, we find ourselves not attracted to them, or we put them in the friend zone. So we will sabotage things when deep down inside, we don't believe we're worthy of them. To use your example earlier, we can maybe have a lot of success in our business, but somehow end up with nothing in our pocket. And the third way, by the way, if you have medium to high self-worth, what this looks like, and I bet you a lot of people who are listening to you and I right now are going to fall in this category, because a lot of achievers have this challenge. When you have medium to high self-worth, you'll go for the thing. You'll put yourself out there. You'll accomplish the goal. You'll get the 6-pack abs. You'll hit your fitness goal, or, you'll have the kids in the dream house, or you'll hit that level in your business. You'll do the thing. The world will tell you, great job. But underneath it all, you do not feel fulfilled. You feel like something's missing. You feel like it's still not enough. You feel like you're not enough. And then we solve that by thinking, I just got to go to the next level and the next level and the next level. And it becomes this perpetual cycle to nowhere because we're not fulfilled in the pursuit. And a lot of people say, well, wait a minute. If I believe I'm enough as who I am, if I learn to do that, if I learn to raise my self worth, I'm going to lose my ambition. I don't want that. And it's actually couldn't be further from the truth. Like the more we believe we're enough, I have found the more ambitious you become, because even if you go for it and you fall flat on your face and you fail miserably, that might shake your self confidence, but it cannot touch your self worth. It cannot touch your self worth because you learn that you're not defined by those external things. And so to answer your question, I thought, Eric, my whole life, I was not feeling enough because I just needed to accomplish more. And I just needed to build more self-confidence. And I found myself, I shared with you earlier that I'd always dreamed of, I'd always watch Oprah's Little Girl in my living room. And so we all have our different heroes. For some of us, it's Superman or Batman or, someone who's just completely changed the world, or a leader in our faith that we practice, or it could be whoever. For me growing up, I always dreamed of meeting Oprah. And I just want you to put yourself in this spot, because I think everyone listening might be able to relate to this in your own way. 39 years later, had hoped for that to happen. And I actually got a chance to meet her. And she invited me to her house for lunch. And now, just to put everyone in the shoes I was in, I was really confident. I was really self-confident at the time. I had built an amazing business. I was donating tens of millions of dollars to women who face the effects of cancer. I was so proud of everything I was doing, and I was growing every day and contributing and really confident. I had a lot of self-confidence. And I went to Oprah's house and had a 3-hour lunch with her. But what I did not realize underneath it all was I did not have a lot of self-worth, and they're different. And at the time, what happened is I left her house after a 3-hour lunch, and she gave me her cell phone number. And she said, you can call me anytime. Call me anytime. And Eric, from the day I walked out, I did not call her for 4 years. For 4 years. And this is what low self-worth will do to you. You will sabotage stuff. And now in that 4-year window, I told myself stories like, oh, I just need to get like the perfect thing to say. Then I'm going to call her. Or, everyone probably wants something from her. So I'm going to prove I don't need nothing. I told myself all these stories until 4 years later, I realized the real reason I didn't call her was because deep down inside, I did not feel worthy of being her friend. And that day, I know that is a lie. That day, I literally imagined myself turning down the volume on my own self-doubt, right? Because our thoughts or our self-doubt live in our head. That is not who we are. And turning up the volume on that knowing that says, like, I am a kick-ass friend. I know I'm worthy of you. I know that. And that is the day I picked up the phone and called her. And that is the day I became obsessed with studying self-worth and with understanding, wow, you can achieve a lot and you can build a lot of confidence. But if you do not believe you are worthy of it, you will still sabotage. And sometimes people can accomplish stuff in business, but if they're struggling with self-worth, they'll sabotage their relationships or their friendships or their health and fitness goals. It can come out in different areas of our life, but our self-worth is our ceiling. And so it truly is the one thing that changes everything. And, you cannot out-succeed your self-worth. You cannot out-succeed your self-worth. That is why it is so, you will still sabotage stuff no matter how much externally you achieve. And so that is the one thing.
Yeah. For me, this is life work for me, really. I just received a copy of the book just as we were getting ready to have a conversation. So reading through the chapters inspired me. Reading through the 4 parts and the chapters in each one is like, oh, that's me. That's me. That's me. That's me. Over and over and over, because whether it's health or relationships or showing up or family or money, stuff, accomplishments, career, Marina helped me an awful lot as far as I had a difficult time asking for what I was worth. I still do.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, let me do it. I'm like, okay, so that's my hack for now is I have her do it. So eventually I'll get there, but I'm still a work in progress. I think everybody who wants to have fulfillment, not just successful fulfillment in life, needs to pick up this book. And for those that are involved in marketing, building organizations, network marketing, this is the struggle inside of our business, the solopreneur business.
Yeah.
People say this is what they could do, this is what they should do. It's this higher level, but then they feel like this is what I'm doing, and they don't know why. They think there's something broken inside of them. You know, there's something wrong with them. You know, that these repeating patterns keep coming back over and over. These things keep happening to them, and I believe the foundation of it all is a self-worth loop that they're stuck in, or a lack of self-worth loop. So, just in walk me through in summary. Okay. The parts that, and let me just read the parts and you can just kind of describe it for people, because I think a book like this should be studied, underlined, you know, read it through one time. If you're an audiobook person, fantastic. But you know, there's a difference thing if you listen to a book versus you read it.
Yeah.
If I only listen to books, I'd have a certain level of success in my life by reading them as well. The biggest hack is go ahead and buy the electronic book, but then get the audiobook as well and listen while you're reading it. That's the best hack.
I love that.
It'll help you absorb it better. But if you have it physically, you can underline, highlight. This one's me. I got to work on this. I got to change my awareness on this level. Part one, seeing, changing your awareness, being aware that this is something, a challenge for you, something to be strengthened. Number two is unlearning. There's a lot of lies that we tell ourselves. I'll just read the lies real quick that you have in chapters. My weight impacts my worth. That one's me. I should only be seen when I'm happy. That was me. That is me. I don't deserve better. That's me. I don't have anything special to offer. I'm okay with that. But sometimes me, depending on the room, I need to please them to love me. Totally me. If I stand out, I'll get kicked out. I faced that one pretty well. I'm an imposter and not enough on my own. I'm okay there, but it's taken me 40 years. If I'm me, I won't be loved. Me for sure. Labels are permanent. Me for sure. So all of those are lies, and you talk about why they're lies and what you can do about them. So seeing, being aware, number one, unlearning, number two, transforming. I call it reprogramming. How do you reprogram your mind for self-worth? How do you reprogram your mind for success? And you talk about the secret of fulfillment. Do you see you? Know your why. Circle or cage, overexposed and underdeveloped, and transformations. And then part four is knowing. So interesting that you use that word. Not understanding, knowing. Not reprogramming, knowing. It's just like it's a different thing. It's not a faith-based belief. It's knowing. It's like, no, this is not shakable. You can say what you want. Your opinion doesn't matter to this part because I know this. You know, so there's some areas of your life that you know.
Yeah.
Others are open, you know, for development and learning, but knowing. So seeing, unlearning, transforming, and knowing. Just in kind of to encapsulate all this. And I know you're out spreading the word and telling everybody, and you're on a big run to be able to help as many people as possible with their self-worth. And I think it's amazing that you're donating 100% of your proceeds for both Worthy and Believe It. I would also maybe mention, you don't have to donate all of them. It's a self-worth thing again. It's okay. You don't have to. The fact that you are is lovely and beautiful. But if you got paid for your book and your talks and the other things, that's okay too, because you've earned it. And you're worthy of it. I'll just say that to you. But walk through the seeing, unlearning, transforming, and knowing for somebody out there that says, you know what, this is me. I've got to raise my my lid on
Yeah.
what I'm allowing myself
Uh,
to do.
yeah, for sure. And I want to say too, what you just shared. I want to say thank you again for sharing that, because as you talk through each one of the lies and you so vulnerably shared which ones impact you right now, which ones don't, which ones you've gotten through in 40 years, there's going to be so many people that go to you for advice in their businesses, that go to you like, and they're not realizing that you have experienced these things or do. And I think it's so powerful. I think it's so powerful. And I have done a few interviews for this book launch, which I'm so excited about because we're these out in the world and it's like the best work of my life. And very rarely does anyone I'm having a conversation with actually share
Mm.
that they're really going through these different things. And so I think that's just so powerful. And I want to honor that, because a lot of these lies, this book is not about Worthy is not about, oh, all of these things you need to learn like a brand new foreign language. It is a book about how do you unlearn these lies that lead to self-doubt, and how do you ignite those truths that wake up worthiness. So yeah, the whole part one of this is seeing. And what I love about our conversation today is, for the one person listening or watching us who maybe is like, oh yeah, wow, that's me. I've experienced that. I feel stuck, or I'm hitting a ceiling in my business, or, oh yeah, I arrive at my goals and I still feel empty. Like, I take you through the process of how to realize, like, is this a real thing in your life, and how is it impacting you right now? And I also go through seeing and almost shifting perspective on some of the big key things that hold us back. So I wrote what was going to be a whole other book called When You Change Your Relationship with Rejection, You Change Your Entire Life. But I did not want to wait 2.5 more years to publish it. And so we put it into Worthy as chapter 2. So inside Worthy, chapter 2, because this is so important, Eric, because a lot of people have had, all these rejections, et cetera, and these no's. And when you get them, they can shake your self-confidence. But when you let it take root at an identity level, when you start to believe I am a reject, or I am a failure, not just I was rejected or I failed, I am a failure, I am a reject. When it takes root at the identity level, that's when it starts to impact our self-worth. And so I go through
Can I
chapter.
throw one comment in there real quick?
Yeah.
I have like 6 different books in my head that need to get written and get out into the world.
Yeah.
And I asked some of the top leaders which one they wanted, and the title that the theme of the one that they wanted the most in my universe was how to get unstuck. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So because everybody feels stuck, they feel like they're less than their potential. So I started writing it, and guess what? I got stuck.
You want me to share with you?
I don't know if it's self-worth or not, but that's I got stuck halfway through writing that book.
It might be self-worth, or let me share with you one tip. Erwin McManus. I don't know if you know Erwin McManus. He's a pastor, a futurist. He's amazing. He shared this advice, and it was for anyone writing a book right now, anyone who is special, or as you're putting your art out into the world, because let's be honest, a book is so personal, it's so deep, it's so meaningful. And so for anyone writing a book right now, he told me this line and it just stuck with me. He said, writer's block is simply editing before you create. It's editing yourself before you create. And it hit me deeply, because sometimes we feel stuck because we're writing stuff, we think this is not good, and it shifted how I write. And now I'll just, like, for anyone writing who feels stuck in their writing, I'm like, oh, I'm just editing myself before I create. I'm going to stop editing myself and I'm going to let it all out, even if it's crap and it gets cut on the cutting room floor. And I just let it and that has helped so much just in all of anything I'm doing creatively. I just think that's such a good piece of advice, because so often we're stuck, right? Because we're editing ourselves before we create. But yes, so unstuck. And by the way, how to get unstuck. I love that as a title. That is a good title. That is a great title.
But here's the other thing. You kind of wrote it.
Yeah. From my own experience,
No, but isn't that the theme? Isn't that the result that people are going to get?
from a place of most of the time, we are stuck.
Yeah.
Because we actually deep down inside don't believe we're worthy of the thing. And so for anyone who feels right now a knowing, talk about knowing, who feels a knowing of like, oh, wow, actually, that might be me, then this book is for you in terms of how to get unstuck. I go through a chapter called You're Not Crazy, You're Just First, which is all about reframing the things that you think are wrong or off or odd or quirky about you can actually be the greatest things right about you, and just how to completely step into that. I talk about how you have greatness inside of you. And this is really a chapter for anybody who thinks their past and their past mistakes somehow disqualify them from, the things that they hope for most in their life. The whole section about unlearning, this is the one, and you listed off so many of the lies, and this is all about the lies, so many of the lies that lead to self-doubt, and how believing them can chip away at our self-worth, right? Every time, the lie, if I am me, I won't be loved. So many of us think like, oh, I've got to show up as my representative. I've got to show up as the person everyone expects me to be. And every time we show up inauthentically, we are telling ourselves we're unworthy of being who we are. And it just chips away at our self-worth. And so I go through the whole process. And I even talk about, from a business perspective, of watching this play out before my eyes in the form of tens of thousands of entrepreneurs trying to sell their product on QVC, and like that through line of the very few who make it, and just the lessons and the tools behind that. And then into transforming, which I love how you described it as really, reframing and shifting how we see everything. And one of the big things in here is this idea of, do you see you? And because our depth of love and connection we can have with another person, whether it is our partner or friends or our customers, right? A lot of us have been out there pitching every single day, and we're trying to connect. And I remember doing over 1,000 live shows on QVC. And if you don't hit numbers in one of them, you're gone. And like, our depth of connection with another human being can actually only be as deep as our depth of love and connection we have with ourselves. And this goes deep into that and into part 4 of knowing. And I love how you touched on this, that knowing transcends a lot of other things. And I also talk about just so many experiences for anyone right now who has been getting a lot of no's or been telling themselves a lot of no's. I believe we all have a knowing. And I think that your knowing is more powerful than anyone else's no that they're telling you, or the no's you're telling yourself in your own head. And I talk a lot about how to tune in and trust your intuition. And also, for people, you mentioned faith. These are universal tools in this book, whether you practice a faith or do not practice a faith. But I do have one chapter that talks about, if you do practice a faith, how to believe the words of that faith over your own self-doubt. Because I will tell you one thing, as someone who does pray and as someone who's a Christian, I realized I am saying I believe in God's word, and I believe that when he says I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and I'm made in his image, I say I believe that. But then when I'm doubting I'm enough to walk into a room, or I'm doubting I'm enough to hold a CEO title, or I'm doubting I'm enough to share my ideas or whatever with the world, what I'm actually doing is believing my own thoughts and doubting God's word. So I actually don't have self-doubt. I have God doubt in those moments. And I talk about whatever it is you say you believe, how to actually believe it as a self-worth shortcut to instantly believe in your own worth. So we go kind of deep in that chapter, in that whole section on knowing. I'm just so grateful. And I want to say too that I want to just honor one thing, because Eric, for you to talk about all these lies in this book and how you connect with them, how some of them are still lies impacting your life right now, how some of them you have learned to get past. I think that in particular for men, I think, well, I'll tell you a true story. I was with a group of men when we were finalizing the cover of the book. And we were debating the cover of Worthy and how big should the word worthy be? And should we have this hologram foil? And I was explaining the depth of this book and how I just feel like it's a divine download and all this. And finally, when we were debating the cover, one of the guys in the room spoke up. He's like, well, this book's not for me anyways. So I don't know, I don't have an input on. And I said to him, oh, so what makes you think it's not for you? Like I love feedback. So I'm super curious. I'm like, tell me more. What makes you think it's not for you? He's like, it's not for me. And I said, well, what would it need to be called for you to feel like it's for you? And he said, success. And I just remember like, oh, that's so fascinating. He doesn't know the thing beneath the thing, because you cannot out succeed your self-worth. If you want to double your success, double your self-worth. You want to double your net worth, double your self-worth. Like it is the thing. It is our self-worth is our ceiling. Our self-worth is our ceiling. So to sit here with you and have you share those things, I just, it fills my soul because it's so true. And so many people are stuck and they don't know why, or they might think that a topic like this doesn't apply to them. And it is universal. And you look at the data and you look at the numbers and you look at how it impacts business and leadership and sports, every performance in every area. Our self-worth is our ceiling.
I love it so much. At the end of the book, you have a poem. You're not crazy. You're just first. A poem that you have in written audio and video that people can listen to and watch. That's right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. I've read the poem, but would it be, can we take you reading that and put it into this podcast at the end?
Yeah. Let me read an excerpt from it. I have permission to read an excerpt from it.
Go ahead.
And what I want to say is, it's wild how I just felt so in alignment with my assignment. We have a friend, Rory Vaden, who says in life, you're best positioned to serve the person you once were. And what I believe so much is that so much of us are seeking our purpose. And sometimes we think it needs to come from our job or our pursuits or whatever. But so often when we can use the things we've gone through to become the things we make it through, and then help other people make it through those things, that can be one of our greatest sources of purpose in our lives. And with this book, Worthy, I just feel, because my greatest struggle in life has been believing I'm enough. And I have done so much work to make it through that. It's a lifelong journey, as you mentioned, and I'm still making it through it, but I'm just so passionate about sharing these tools. And I just feel in such alignment. And so the book has over 20 tools to build self-worth. And then Worthy has one poem. And I will read an excerpt from it right now, because this is for every person who feels like maybe you were raised like I was with a family that you just felt like you were a little different, or like you didn't quite fit in, or maybe you had to, and I have 5 families because I'm adopted, it's a whole thing, but you felt like maybe you had to dim your light to fit in, or you were the one that wanted to break generational cycles, or the one that wanted to, end addiction, or you're the one who wanted to break out and succeed in a whole new way. And we get tempted to doubt ourselves out of our own destiny and dim our light and step back in to fit in to the people we were raised around or the peer group that we fit into. And we tell ourselves we must just be crazy. Or growing up, I had a lot of friends and family that would love me, but when I'd have these big, bold ideas, they would be like, oh, you're crazy. Like things like that do not happen to people like us. And they would call me those words. And so this poem might just be for you today. Let me read an excerpt from it. The whole thing is in the book Worthy, but it's called You're Not Crazy, You're Just First. Who do you think you are? They say. Things like that aren't for people like us. Why are you going around changing, planning to leave us in the dust? Are you forgetting where you come from? Are we not good enough anymore? And just like that, the temptation to play life small feels more comfortable than before. If you're doubting you're enough, your thoughts, their words have got you down, it's time for your soul to tell your mind there's a new boss in town. See, there's no one else quite like you in the entire universe. And what your soul knows is you're not crazy, you're just first. The first to have your hopes and dreams, the first you there's ever been. So don't be surprised if they don't get you or try to shame you to fit in. They call you odd, strange, different for having dreams bigger than they can see. Because those dreams were given to them, they see them through fear and anxiety. And even the well intentioned people who love you to the bone can see you pursuing your dreams as a reminder of them not fulfilling their own. If people like people who are like them, hiding your true self is a comfort zone, but a calling unexpressed inside of you leaves you feeling anguished and alone, even inside of your own home. They call you words like crazy and say we stick together for better or for worse, but what your knowing knows is you're not crazy. You're just first. The first to launch the business, to dust your dreams off of the shelf. The first to believe you're worthy of betting on yourself. The first to beat addiction, to live life sober and awake. The first to end the generational cycle that you know you're born to break. The first to start healing. The first to forgive so you'll be free. The first to love others for who they are, not for who you wish they'd be. The first to be a visionary, to dream up the screenplay that you'll write. The first to recognize your gifts and stop hiding in plain sight. The first to risk rejection, to speak your truth with vigor, knowing the opposition might be big, but your creator is bigger. The first to cheer yourself on and truly believe it, not just fake it, knowing most people won't cheer for you until after you make it. In class, they used to pick you last, and now they're at a loss because instead of calling you employee, they now call you boss. The first to stand up for the outcast and say, stop teasing, I just won't. You might be tempted to underestimate me, but let me save you some time. Don't. The first to say, you broke my heart. You gave up on me for something else, and it took me a while to know I'm worthy of believing in myself. And what I know is, yeah, you hurt me, but I'm not rejected, see? God just hid my value from you because you're not assigned to my destiny. The first to say, let's agree to disagree. We all have the right to free speech too. Stop trying to cancel and hate on others just because you're hurting too. The first to believe in your dreams, even when others might not get you, then one day love them anyways when they're bragging to people how they met you. You are not your successes. You're not how many times you fail or fall. You are how big you love, and love is free for all. See, when we fear we're not enough and fear even more we won't be loved, it is so tempting to shrink in size and trade in our purpose for their hugs. But when you're feeling like you don't fit in or that you never quite belong, your uniqueness is your superpower. Your truth is never wrong. And when they criticize to hold you back because your dreams aren't what they're used to, and they're afraid that you'll outgrow them, leave them behind, and that they'll lose you, stop asking for their advice if they've never been there themselves. Because when you people please for others, you end up betraying yourself. So when doubt tempts you to dim your light, always remember this verse. Your soul knows you were made for more with so much purpose, it could burst. You're born with greatness inside you. And whether it's a blessing or a curse, the world won't be better until your greatness is dispersed. See, there's only one of you in the entire universe. And your knowing knows deep down, you're not crazy. You're just first.
Jamie Kern Lima, absolutely epic. Thank you for your contribution. This might be the most important book in a long time in the network marketing, solopreneur, entrepreneur world. Everybody that is part of our community, pick it up. Make sure your team has it. Give it to somebody who is struggling with self-worth and has a lid on their growth. It will help them, which will help you. And you'll feel better in the process. So Jamie Kern Lima, thank you. You didn't have to do all this. You didn't have to write this book. You didn't have to continue to contribute to the world. All of your needs are met, all those different kinds of things, but you know the secret that I've learned as well. Accumulation is one part of your career, but it doesn't really start until you shift from accumulation to contribution. So thank you for your contribution. I appreciate you coming on and sharing these ideas. And I'm looking forward to hearing the stories from all the lives being changed from what you've written. Thank you for doing the hard work. I know it's not easy to put a book out. I know you're going to smash the bestseller lists, and I'm proud to call you my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And I agree. I am so excited, to hear all the stories, to hear, you know what I mean? And I just think oh my gosh, when our self-worth is our ceiling to our success, to everything else, I think about every single person, every team, every downline, every leader, right? Who's going to raise their ceiling of what they believe is possible for them. And not just in business. Yeah, that's huge. That's so important, but also just in our relationships and our goals and our dreams and our calling we have on our lives. So thank you for the gift of sharing this today with you, with the person listening. And I'm excited. Thank you for helping me get worthy out into the world.
Yes, we're going to do it. Jamie Kern Lima, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon. I hope, give you a big hug, but I know you're proud of you, but I just want to let you know that I'm proud of you as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
See you soon, my friend.
Okay.
So that's my conversation with Jamie Kern Lima. I hope you got value from it. I know that I did. I can't wait to absolutely absorb everything in this book. All of you need to get it. All of you need to download it. All of you need to get the audiobook. All of you need to share this with others because we all have a lid. I've realized in the last 3 years specifically, after having success, that there's been a lid on my thinking based upon my own recognition of my own self-worth. And I've been actively looking to up that level in my life, and the changes are phenomenal in just the early stage of unlocking new levels. You can unlock these new levels yourself. I went to write the book Unstuck, but she did it for me, which is great. All of us need to recognize that we are enough, that we are worthy, we are capable, and we are deserving. So get the book, absorb it, do the work of giving yourself credit for who you are. And if you know somebody who needs to fill this gap of self-worth, they need to grow their own belief in themselves, share this podcast with them. Even better, get them a copy of this book as your gift to them and have them start on the journey with you. They'll thank you for it. And I'll appreciate you helping to spread the word. We're doing important work here. If we're talking about excellence, figuring out self-worth is a very, very big part of becoming great. So that's it for today. I hope you're well. Go out there, make your life amazing, and I'll see you next time.